I want to introduce our next speaker who's going to be talking about automation. Mike O'Donnell is Vice President of Operations for Magnet. Magnet, if you're not familiar with them yet, they're part of a national network of MEPs, Manufacturing Extension Partnership, offer a lot of services to small to medium-sized manufacturers, which is basically all of them in Tuscarawas County. Operations excellence and engineering and marketing and all kind of different services. But I asked Mike if he would come and talk about some of the opportunities that are out there for automation, because I know I've talked with some of you that there are places where you can put in an automated piece of equipment and move your workers to another part of the line. So Mike O'Donnell, thanks for being here with us.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I understand I have to take my mask off when I get in front. Is that sort of okay? This is, first off, I want to say this is such an incredible turnout. It's great to see so many people here today. It's just unbelievable. One thing, as I was driving down, actually I was, a couple weeks ago, I went and had a cabin with my family. We rented a cabin over near Athens. It was beautiful. The leaves were changing, and I got to see some of the new capabilities and factories in production as related to the shale gas. And I'm starting to see things, popping up as we were in the country roads, and I saw some more today. So as I sort of think about this today, this part of the state is really starting to grow and is going to become very attractive with the energy and the way it is. And so, and it's all around a little bit around technology, technology and people. I mean, so if there's any theme today, and Jessica, where did Jessica go just now? I wanted to ask in a moment, tell a little story that we've collaborated with on, and it's this linkage with technology and people that is so important. We all know there's a workforce shortage. I mean, and we all know that we need to bring more talent into the workforce and do that, but if you look at the demographics, what you're going to see is there's just not enough human beings on the planet in the next 20 years. And we can fool ourselves and we can say, yeah, the birth rates will go up from 1 per family back up to 5 per family. It's just not going to happen. We're a mature Western society, and the population is stabilizing. And there's productivity tools right now that we can use that weren't available. If you take a look at it, there's new technologies. That's what I really want to talk about today, is new technologies and what that means to our workforce. So, number one, 3 things I'd like you to think about today while I talk. One, what are you going to do, each of you, and how many of you are manufacturers here? Just raise your hand. Okay. What are you as manufacturers going to do to participate in this technology revolution? Sometimes people call it Industry 4.0. I'll chat more about it. But this technology revolution that hasn't quite made it out into your neighborhoods yet. And that's not just here, that's everywhere in Northeast Ohio and in Ohio and in the nation. Number 2, finding talent is tough, but are you doing everything you can do to get talent? Not just advertising, whatever, but are you making your workspace a really, really great place to work? And frankly, technology makes it really great, because you look at the young people today, they're all technical. They're all on iPads. They're all like playing Xbox, and they maybe don't want to dig dirt with shovels anymore. And these technical jobs that require upskilling and training are very exciting. And 3, I would challenge you all, just not right now, but during the day, what is the one thing that you get out of today that you might be able to go learn more about, whether it's a sector partnership, whether it's technology, whether it's you reach out to, where's the team from, with Harry's team and John? Where are they all? Raise your hands. Whether you reach out to them and say, hey, I heard something today, and I want to follow up and get connected to that. And this is a community, so I would challenge you to think about that. And so in that, those 3 points, I'll come back to them at the end, I'd like to structure 3 sort of stories today about technology. One is how can a person become educated, become aware, and start to adopt these new technologies, okay? I'll tell you some stories about that. 2 is, what is this new technology? And why is it affordable? And why can you get an ROI about it? Because frankly, in business and in the nation and with productivity, you have to have an ROI. If there's no ROI, it's not going to happen. It's now possible. And lastly, upskilling in terms of the workforce to be able to adapt to this so that they can not only do it, but also have a well-paying job. So I wanted to start out maybe, just as I think about it, with maybe I'll highlight a little story that we've collaborated with Jessica and with the sector partnerships on. And it happens to be a particular company. They're not right here, but it could just as well be here, right? And they happen to be in Youngstown. And there's another one in Alliance, and I'll talk about many more. But in this particular company, they installed a rather innovative technology to build with an additive machine, something that could be up to 24 feet long by 12 feet wide by 9 feet tall. Okay, have any of you seen additive machines like in the schools and stuff like that? How big are they? Are they that big? Tabletop. So this is like massive. It's probably the largest in the world. It's in Youngstown. It's in Ohio. Youngstown's not that far. That's sort of technology. That wasn't possible before. But that's not the most important part of the story, and maybe I'd ask Jessica to make a comment too on it. It's that the workers, to be able to operate that machine, you're not talking about a worker that, just picking up a box here and moving it there. You're talking about a good worker there that comes to work every day, and he can be upskilled to operate those technical controllers, to operate that machine, and leverage his productivity. By leveraging his productivity, you can give him a pay raise. And so that's what's sort of happening. It's cyclical. So on the one hand, it increases our productivity, standard of living. And again, going back to the fact that people aren't being born, if you look at a plot and sort of see over the last years, what's the manufacturing workforce in Ohio? People are retiring, baby boomers are retiring, people are coming into the workforce, but it's been flat. The net amount of workers is flat, but the goods and services to support us all in our standard of living is going up, and we're even exporting from the region. So this technology is important. I was going to ask maybe if you could make a comment on how important it is with upskilling and maybe the tech cred programs, and that they're very accessible and for this region too, as they start to implement technologies.
Yeah, we're grateful for the partnership with Magnet, and I think it's just another way that the collaboration is taking us kind of to the next level. So I'll just yell a little louder. So, I think if you would have asked us 5 years ago to address some of these new technologies and automation of robotic and additive, we wouldn't have been equipped to do that. And through our partnership with Magnet, we're identifying, first of all, the companies that are adopting these new technologies, and we are their kind of consultative partner to be able to figure out where is the training that's necessary. In this case, Mike actually tapped into pre-apprenticeship programs. We were able to help them to access some funding through Magnet to offset their costs of the pre-apprenticeship program, and then also tech cred. So that's some of the things that we do in our industry sector partnership too, is like in our robotics program, we did the application for tech cred and we handed it to the 6 companies that all were participating in the program, so they didn't have to figure it out, they just had to submit it to the state. So those are other ways that you can work together, and we're excited about the partnership. And I hear a lot of conversations now at the state level that kind of assess where Ohio is in terms of tech adoption, and we're behind. So we need to support all of you who are considering these new innovative technologies, and Magnet certainly has the expertise to do that, but the industry sector partnerships can be a partner to help the work, figure out the workforce component of it.
Thank you. This is, I won't break it. This is a community, is what you're sort of hearing. Technology without people is dead. Now, this is a huge C-level change. If you think about when I use that word Industry 4.0, some of you might know what that means, some of you might not. It's automation, it's collaborative robots that you can work right aside from, and if they hit you, they won't knock you down and kill you. But there's been robots for a long time. You can go to an automotive assembly plant or Lincoln Electric or many, many facilities down in your regions, but they're in cages, and they'll kill you if they hit you. They can't stop. So collaborative robots, if you haven't seen them, and you can probably go around to your local, to some of your local technology centers and see them, they're very adaptable, and they're very cheap. I mean, a collaborative robot, install just one technology to do sort of machine tending or something like that might be fully installed, say, under 100,000. And if you had that on a machine, maybe tending 2 machines, you can envision 2 operators that used to be standing at a machine just sort of going like this. This is just one example. Now, one operator could, with that robot, run 2 or 3 machines. And then they could get a raise and they would be trained to run the robot and program the robot, because they're not programmed now with those complicated codes where you have to go in and punch with your keys. All they have to do now, it's like a mouse. Like you move it around with the mouse, you pull the head of the robot, it writes its own program. We have smart people, they can do that. So that's just one technology. There's that. There's another technology that's very helpful called machine monitoring, where you hook up sensors either to the controllers or to a key parameter. So say if every time a part came out of the machine, a lot of times there might be a little thing or a little spot where it rolls down a chute. You can detect that. You can count that. If there's no parts coming out, you can start to detect and have online graphs right in the work cell. You don't have to have supervisors, walking around and marking it down and trying to problem solve. With an iPad, it's real simple. The operators can punch in, why was the machine down? So for $12,000, you can get 5, 10, 15, 20 machines hooked up, and you can take your capacity, you could make your efficiencies, you could greatly improve it and become very competitive. This is possible now for $15,000. You couldn't do that 20 years ago. That cost you $500,000. Another area, your ERP systems. Those of you in manufacturing, nobody has an ERP system, right? Well, maybe nobody has one that works. That's another topic. But if you have one that slightly works, maybe, you can connect up your machine monitoring and get real-time part counts into your ERP. Some of you may have already done that. I see some nodding there. It's not hard to do. But it might take, if you haven't done it before, you might want to get some outside help the first time. Magna could help you, but there's great suppliers in your region too. This is part of our region with Harry and his team. They can connect you up. Not just that, there's also technologies for what people might call artificial intelligence. Sounds awfully fancy, but let's say you have a machine and there are some early warning signs of a failure versus just it's running or it's not running. So say it's vibration. Those of you that are technical, maybe you can sort of think about a shaft that's rotating at a certain speed and then it's maybe going 800 RPM, let's just say as an example. If it starts to vibrate or the bearings go, you're going to get a vibration at 800 RPMs, right? The sensor can detect that. If it starts to see that amplitude or amount of vibration going up, it can trigger an alarm. It could trigger viscosity change in your fluids. It can detect temperature. So it could detect things that you, being like, I'm looking over here, you nodded, but you know your machines, you know your people. If they say, hey, when the machine's going to go down, this is sort of what I'm detecting, it can tell you ahead of time. That's not an exhaustive list, but it sounds awfully complicated. Smart factory, Industry 4.0. It's really the things that your operators are doing already with their ears, their eyes, and their fingers. Now you can put a sensor on. Sensors cost 20 bucks. You put an edge device on, and we could help you with this and coordinating through. You can do these things now for $10,000. Just think about that. And how many hours of production or efficiency would you need to get an ROI on $10,000? So not to go through everything, but this is huge. Just some numbers to get you thinking about is that just in the top 4 areas of improvement that you might think about if you start to explore it more deeply. First is capacity and efficiency. I'm going to read this here. Just a number for you is it's, sorry, the amount is they're estimating just in Ohio, somewhere between, lower, what does it say, $2 to $8 billion in benefits that could be activated in Ohio by these technologies, and that's in terms of capacity and efficiency. Predictive maintenance, savings of downtime to the factories anywhere between $1 billion and $3 billion. Inventory optimization. If you don't go down as much, you can plan your inventory. Savings of anywhere between $1 and $3 billion, and probably most importantly, not to be thought of, if you can detect when a machine's having a problem, it's probably going to break, maybe shoot something off and hurt somebody. Health and safety. Not just so much the dollar savings of that, but really the human cost, that you can run safer factories. So many benefits to think about if you censor your machines and install some of these technologies. One thing you might want to think about, obviously, if you haven't, I know a lot of you, cyber's sort of out there as a concept and being hacked. That's one thing, phishing, people, respond to it and they can get into your systems. But as you start to get into these new technologies, everything has an IP address. Every single device will have an IP address. So if you're not, doing those things in cyber and cyber protected at your firewalls, I'd recommend that you really connect up with someone who can help you make sure you're secure. And Harry can connect you up with, and his team can connect you up with a cyber provider to do that. May not be your IT provider, to be honest with you. Many times your IT providers don't have the level of technology, finesse, and certifications that they need to be able to do IP protection at firewalls. They're more handling sort of phishing attacks and malware. So you'll want to be connected to a true cyber provider. You might start hearing words like, if you're not in the industry, CMMC, CMMC level 1, level 2, level 3. CMMC level 3 is the level at which you need to have to be secure enough to deal in the DoD supply chain, the military supply chain. CMMC level 4 is even higher for ultra-sensitive applications. So those are some things as you think about getting into it. It's very affordable. Another concept is awareness. Reading a book, reading a journal, watching TV. I don't really feel like it's convincing. It's not convincing to me. I want to see it. I want to see the technology. I want to touch it and see it in being used. And frankly, I'm sort of like a consultant, and so like I'm biased. Like I like it. I know it works. So more importantly, a manufacturer that's gone through the journey of seeing it and installing it in their facility and getting an ROI, that's your best resource to talk to them. They'll tell you the story. They'll tell you what they learned. They'll tell you why ROI is important. They'll tell you that they didn't try to get to the end game and plan out for 10 years and install this big monstrous thing. They'll tell you, did little bits by bits. Everything I did, I got an ROI, just a little thing. This maybe, if the biggest problem is putting something in a box, put a robot on that, put it in the box. My biggest problem is downtime on a machine, put machine monitoring. So they'll tell you how about incremental ROI. Part of our vision that we have with Harry and others is a concept of lighthouses. I want to share that with you. These are companies that are on the journey and willing to open their doors and show you and talk about their success. Non-compete, of course. And so when I sort of mentioned there was a company with the additive machine, it happens to be in Youngstown. They're a lighthouse. There'll be tours set up that you could go through. There's a group called the Cluster, the Northeast Ohio Cluster, which we're all part of. There'll be a programming guide next year. There's 2 facilities in Alliance. There's some facilities more near you, and Harry and his team are looking for facilities that want to go on this journey. And as they install things, the collective is so powerful to see the applications. Right now we have, within Northeast Ohio, sort of spread around, we have 12 lighthouses that will be in full operation in the first quarter. So you can go and see them. Different industries ranging from chemicals, bottling. Haltech is a company, I'm trying to explain it. They make large valves that go on military vehicles on the wheels, anywhere from this long to this long. They insert the stem, everything. It's all assembled automatically with Industry 4.0, torque, sense, rotation, and it's calibrated up, and it's a digital certificate that goes to the customer. And on top of that, it's more efficient than the old way of doing it by hand, so they're able to rededicate those people because they have a labor shortage in Latonia there. There's a labor shortage there. There's a labor shortage everywhere. So there'll be there's 12 in progress right now that'll be available for tour in the first quarter, and we intend to have 40 throughout Northeast Ohio by the end of 2022. So this, I feel personally, this is a great asset to all of you, not just manufacturers, but to people in the community to come up and get educated. Harry and his team have been up and seen some. They've been to our facility at Magnet. We have a center where you can touch and feel the equipment also. It's so much better to see it yourself and and you'll become convinced that it can work. It's a little bit of a risk because you haven't done it before. It is new to the people in your shops, and there is a paradigm out there that robots are taking my jobs, or automation is taking my jobs. And you know, if it would have been in 1970, I happened to have been working in it's 1980s with 18% unemployment, and somebody said, let's automate something, let's put a robot in, it would have took jobs because there's people on the streets. This talent shortage is not going away. And so this is going to help leverage the people and help them to do more and maintain our productivity. And that new message is really starting to take hold and allows people to have more satisfying jobs that are less ergonomically unsound. Another point I wanted to sort of talk about with you is how does time look? What time is it? Anybody give me 10 more minutes? I wanted to leave some time for questions, but what I wanted to a little bit move into is how, and I know you talked a lot about workforce and the talent pipeline, but I wanted to shift it a little bit into your incumbent workforce, and once you get talent pipeline in, to not have them leave and just go next door, or have them become dissatisfied. And how can you attract people to you specifically once the talent becomes available through the pipeline? And so couple of things I'd ask you to consider is that these new technologies are very exciting because you know, when you're driving these in a factory with these technology, and when you go out and look, it's different. And I mean, you have been on tours and things like that. Next year, for those of you, I would encourage you, I know some of you did come, it'll be a great opportunity also to network and talk to other people. There are Magnet and Team Neo and Jobs Ohio and many partners worked with Industry Week, and they just had the show last week up in Cleveland. Had about 1,000 people up there networking and talking about, you know, all these sorts of topics. 4 major areas, what they're calling the blueprint, which is talent, leadership, transformation, Industry 4.0, technologies, and also new product development. And so around those themes, they had 1,000 people up in workshops and also plant tours. They had not necessarily just high technology, but great places to work, great engagement, tours all over. And so I'd encourage you to think about that for next year too, as another way to get together in the community. It'll be in mid-October. But nonetheless, within those 4 themes of, you know, technology, product, innovation, and then there's talent. Because if you don't have people, you don't have anything. So as you think about your technology strategy, get that out. Get that out in the community. That will attract people. They want to work at a place that has high technology. Probably for 2 reasons, because people are smart. They know it's coming, and they know it'll be a sustainable job because there's no technology and it's all manual labor. Eventually, it'll be overtaken by another company, so they'll feel really good about coming to the company because of the sustainability. And the second is it's fun. I mean, it really is fun to use that technology because that's sort of how we bring up people through the systems now. So when you think about that, just thinking about create more, you know, maybe create more opportunities to show your company, make it more visible, create more opportunities for your technologies as part of your recruiting strategy. And then once they're on board, don't let it stop there. Don't let it stop there where they're set in a position. Make sure that your employees can develop. Some of the best practices that I've seen at companies is that when people come on board, I don't want to make a stereotype all people, but maybe let's just say new employees that haven't worked at the company before, they love to have different experiences. All ages. It's not just, you know, millennials. Sometimes people say, oh, the millennials are, what's the next thing after millennials? Gen Z. It's like, oh, they don't have any patience. They can't just focus and bear down and do anything. Well, I think we all like variety. Don't want to just do the same thing every day. I remember, I'll date myself a little bit, I remember when I was in college, I went to the Society of Automotive Engineers convention. I lived in Detroit, and they were giving these awards, like for, you know, great work from engineers. And there was this guy stood up. He designed the Buick Regal trunk latch for 30 years. I mean, that was an honor. I mean, it's like now, it's like, could you imagine telling an employee that comes to work at your company, hey, you're going to work on the Buick Regal trunk latch for 30 years. He just died and went to hell. You know, it's pretty much what they think. So think about that. Think about, you know, variety. Each person is different. Cross-training, let them move around. And that's going to develop your next generation of workers. And we're going to need them because there's a lot of us that are probably in our 50s and 60s. And when we go, there's going to be a lot of 30s and 40-year-olds that are going to assume those positions. So give them a chance. I would say treat them as one-on-one. They're all different. It's sort of like the baby boomers all went through the war. The baby boomers all went through scarcity. You know, they have sort of a common experience. Now it's more molecular. So treat everyone as an individual. I've heard so many best practices at companies where I just heard one yesterday. There was one of a manufacturer. He said they had a person that had an alcohol problem, and it's sort of the policy was like a 1, 2, 3 and you're out kind of policy from HR. And the CEO said, well, this is not going to work because this is a key person. He has a family and he's very good at what he does. Was running this special filling room operation for their product, which is like the first step. You have to mix the stuff and then put it in cans, right? And so he said, hold the phone. He went to talked with the team and said, we're going to have to talk to this guy and figure this thing out. And they said to him, well, how about, I know it's 1, 2, 3, and you need to come to work, but how about we put you in a program and we'll give you a chance for 6 months to get this thing figured out. And he figured it out, and he's thankful. So it's sort of like, you know, it's all one-on-one. Everyone has different needs and different barriers. So I'd encourage you to really know your people. There's no one formula. Sort of as I close out, I would just make 2 comments and then go back and just summarize. But there's all kinds of technology out there ranging from simple to very complex, and depending on your needs, many times a company doesn't have those internal resources to do that analysis because you only have to do it once. I mean, you're going to do that analysis, you're going to do the calculations, you're going to do the ROI, you're going to specify the equipment, all those sorts of things. Unless you do that a lot and you're a large company that has a staff to do that, it can be a one-time thing. And so I would encourage you to, there's plenty of companies out there, Magnet's here to help support you. Harry and his team can connect you with us or other resources because we want you to do it right the first time and not fail, because that first time you try a new technology, whatever it is, there's a risk factor. So in close, my question, my first question again, my 3 questions to you is, what kind of technologies do you think might be applicable that might not be quite in the neighborhood here yet? And if you don't know what those are, you can chat with Harry or myself and get that information. The second is, are you doing everything you can do for your people on a one-on-one basis? And lastly, most importantly, is there anything today that you heard that you'd like to learn more about for your company? And I'd suggest, again, I'm sort of referring it back to Harry and the team. They're here locally, they're here every day, and they can access Magnet at any time or many other resources. So with that, I'd like to open it up for questions.
And more have a comment. I actually went to the Manufacturing and Technology Conference in Cleveland, and that was thanks to Magnet. But I did learn a lot of great information, and I'd highly recommend attending the event next year and then getting that information to share with your partners and your teams, and just getting to learn like the flexibility in hours and the second chance and picking out private labs to test workforce.
For those of you that are interested in we can get the information. Harry, there is a virtual industry week conference that if you didn't were able to attend the in-person one in December. So we'll make sure Harry gets that information and can sort of get the word out to everyone. Thank you. There's got to be a question. Crickets. I wasn't that clear. It must have been confusing. It must have been a little bit confusing.
Well, I'll ask a question. I'll make a comment and a question. We're working, I'd like to ask the group that if there's a company out there that is not on this journey for, installing whatever that technology might be to solve a problem. I mean, I sort of hinted at it there. You don't install it just to install it. It's if you have a problem, capacity, efficiency, or otherwise, and that's something, that you'd like to maybe start that journey anywhere you're in it, and become a lighthouse. That's sort of what the word I use, to open your doors up to others. We'd like to work with companies in this region. We have lighthouses, but we would like to get them even farther south so you don't have to drive as far. And we would be able to offer some special incentives to help to make that happen in sort of as a win-win, where we can help out with some incentives, and then at the same time you'd be willing to sort of open your doors to the community, non-compete. And I'd really appreciate that if you don't have to like step off. It's not an altar call, but I mean, but if that's something that interests you, that you'd like to sort of take that step and do something in this area of technology, it would be really, really great that as we can start to get pockets of light down here in the region, and even farther south in this particular region. So, and again, get with Harry on that. He knows what programs we have where we can offer incentives to make it easier on you, for those of you that are progressive and want to get a start. And then the last thing, I don't know, Harry, if there's any other avenues that they can see or support the Industry 4.0 technologies in your area, or maybe any things that are going on that would help them to see the technology. Because if you can't see it, it's hard to understand. So I didn't know if there was anything you could comment on about things going on Industry 4.0 in the region.
Thanks, Mike. All right. Well, my name's Harry Eden, and I'm with the Tuscarawas County Economic Development Corporation. Jason in the back, the photographer of the day, is one of our business development directors, and of course John Kelly is as well. We've been a partner with Magnet, in partnership with them for the last 2 years, and have brought a number of companies together with Magnet, and done it through the Business Resource Network as well. One of the great opportunities I think we have in Tuscarawas County, and actually in this region, so beyond Tuscarawas County, because we handle 7 counties for Magnet, is the opportunity to create these lighthouse ideas that will be a sharing of technology between companies, and particularly the sharing of technology from an automation standpoint. Mike Lauber is with, well, he is Tusco Display, and actually, you would think, gosh, these are kind of simple things, they're point of sale displays and things like that, and why would they need automation? Well, Mike has a tremendous amount of automation in his plant, and I know that he has taken more than just a few people through his plant to see those kinds of robotic automations, laser cutters, plasma cutters, and such that he has in his plant, to do something that would seemingly be a really simple operation, but has made it possible for him to be competitive throughout the country, and in fact, throughout North America. So those are the kinds of lighthouse opportunities that we're looking for. Mike has been really generous in that over the last number of years, and we're going to connect him more with Magnet in order to be able to do more of that for companies within this region, and of course we have others that are ahead of Mike even. Hard to believe, Mike, but Allied Machine and Engineering, who we can thank for our breakfast today. Steve Stokey had another meeting that he had to run off to, but they likewise have significant automation within their plants, and in both of their plants, and as well as from an ERP system standpoint, the shop floor is highly developed. So again, don't hesitate to reach out to John or myself or Jason, and soon the new director for the Tuscarawas County Economic Development Corporation, who will be coming on board sometime in January. And you can reach out to that person as well. As soon as it's announced, I can give you the name. So, but I think the opportunity is right now. You know, we all know that we have workforce challenges. Our unemployment rate is below 5, and as Ohio Means Jobs would tell you, after doing some calculation, that means we're almost fully employed in Tuscarawas County, and certainly in most of this region. We have some other challenges that are coming, and which will really put a stress or more strain on workforce. So for instance, in just a couple of years, we're going to have 1,000 employees hired by a small company, begins with an A. Oh, it's something that my wife and daughters use all the time. Amazon, that's it. They're going to have a plant in Louisville, Ohio, or a facility in Louisville, Ohio, that will employ 1,000 people. And you've probably seen the commercials. Heck, I want to go to work for them because their commercials are so good, right? And so I think that, again, the opportunity is now to be able to set yourself up for that challenge that's coming, and that's here already, but is coming in spades in just a couple of years. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to invite anybody. He said the time is now. At the end of this meeting, if somebody wants to actually operate a robot, I can take you to the Advanced Technology Center. It's the building. You can see it straight through there at the end of the meeting, and you can actually operate a panic robot.
He's in.
Huh?
He's in.
He's in. He's on it. All right, I got one.
Well, again, thanks, Mike. And I'm going to turn it back to you and John.
I might be overscheduled a little bit. Please take the time. This is all about jobs. This is about careers. This is about Northeast Ohio community. There's no compete here. What's that trite phrase? Rising water brings all boats up. It truly does. This is not a thing about competing. It's about let's just share the knowledge and bring this area up for our workers. So thank you much. Thank you.